Wealth is not the result of working harder, longer hours or pushing your body and mind to the edge of exhaustion. Real wealth is the result of owning assets that continue to work for you whether you're awake or asleep, at your desk or on a beach, in your prime years or long after you have stopped actively working. Most people are trained from childhood to think that the only honest way to make money is to trade time for a paycheck, and so they build their entire life around earning more income instead of owning more assets. They hustle for promotions, chase overtime, and constantly look for higher-paying jobs, but they never escape the trap because their income stops the moment they stop working. The wealthy, by contrast, play a completely different game. They understand that money is a tool, not a destination, and they use that tool to buy and build assets that generate cash flow again and again, month after month, year after year. An asset, in the simplest and most powerful sense, is anything that regularly puts money into your pocket without requiring your constant presence. And when you commit to becoming an asset builder instead of just an income earner, your entire financial destiny begins to shift. This audiobook, How to Build Assets That Pay You Forever, is your step-by-step guide to that shift. We will transform your money mindset from average earner to rich thinker, show you how to identify and create real income-producing assets, reveal the truth about passive income and financial independence, and give you practical strategies to escape the paycheck-to-paycheck cycle permanently. Everything you are about to hear is for education and inspiration, not personal financial advice. But if you apply these principles with discipline, focus, and long-term thinking, you will stop being a prisoner of your next paycheck and start becoming the architect of lasting wealth and true financial freedom. The greatest difference between the rich and the average earner is not luck, intelligence, or even opportunity. It is mindset, the invisible operating system that quietly controls every decision you make about money, time, and risk. The average earner sees money as something scarce, fragile, and easily lost, so they cling to job security, avoid calculated risks, and spend most of their energy trying not to lose what little they have. They think in terms of, how can I afford this now, instead of, how can I own something that will pay for this forever? The rich, on the other hand, see money as abundant, renewable, and obedient when properly directed, so they focus on ownership over wages, cash flow over consumption, leverage over effort, and long-term results over short-term comfort. Where an average earner says, I need a raise, a rich thinker asks, what asset can I create or acquire that will keep paying me? Where an average earner fears losing a job, a rich thinker fears depending on only one source of income. This mindset difference shapes daily habits. The average earner spends first and saves what is left, while the rich pay themselves first and treat saving and investing as non-negotiable bills. The average earner buys liabilities that look impressive, while the rich buy assets that look boring but throw off cash. The average earner is driven by impulse and comfort, while the rich are guided by discipline, purpose, and clearly defined financial goals. To adopt a rich mindset, you must challenge your old beliefs about money, replace scarcity with intelligent abundance, and start asking a new set of questions. How can I create value at scale? How can I make my money work harder than I do? How can I build systems instead of just doing tasks? When your questions change, your focus changes. When your focus changes, your choices change. And when your choices change consistently over time, your entire financial reality transforms. If you want assets that pay you forever, you must upgrade from employee thinking to owner thinking, because the entire wealth game is built around ownership, not employment. Employee thinking is built on the idea that income comes only from your labor, So your earning power is chained to your time, your energy, and your physical presence. In this world, the only way to earn more is to work more, negotiate a raise, switch jobs, or climb a corporate ladder that you do not control. Owner thinking, by contrast, is built on leverage, the ability to earn from other people's time, other people's money, technology, systems, and intellectual property that continue to work even when you do not. An owner asks, how can I build something once that can be sold 1,000 times? How can I design a system that runs with minimal input from me? This does not mean you must quit your job tomorrow or become some overnight entrepreneur. It means you start using your job as a platform and a funding engine to quietly build and acquire assets on the side until those assets are strong enough to give you real choices. Owner thinking also changes how you see your skills. Instead of viewing them only as tools to get hired, you start seeing them as ingredients for building products, services, systems, or content that can generate income independently of your working hours. Maybe your communication skills become an online course, your technical skills become a software tool, your industry experience becomes a consulting package, or your creativity becomes a digital product that sells worldwide while you sleep. When you begin to think like an owner, you stop asking, how much will they pay me? And start asking, what asset am I building with the time and money I already have? That single shift, using your current life to fund your future ownership, marks the beginning of your true journey toward financial independence and wealth creation.
To build wealth that lasts, you must master one simple but powerful distinction: the difference between an asset and a liability, and how both affect your cash flow. In the language of real wealth builders, an asset is anything that consistently puts money into your pocket, while a liability is anything that consistently takes money out of your pocket. It is not about how something looks, but about what it does to your monthly cash flow. A rental property that generates more in rent than it costs you in mortgage, taxes, and maintenance is an asset. A beautiful car that drains you with payments, insurance, and fuel is a liability, no matter how luxurious it appears. Stocks or index funds that pay dividends are assets. Consumer debt charging you high interest is a heavy liability. A small business that produces profits without you doing all the work is an asset, but a business that survives only when you exhaust yourself every week is nothing more than a demanding job disguised as ownership. Rich people study their personal cash flow statements the way athletes study game footage. They track exactly how money enters and leaves their life, and they constantly adjust their decisions to increase the flow from assets and decrease the drain from liabilities. Average earners rarely do this. They live only by looking at their salary and their bank balance, never truly understanding the hidden forces that keep them stuck. To join the ranks of smart money thinkers, you must start seeing every financial decision through the lens of cash flow. Will this create an asset that pays me or a liability that owns me? Your goal is simple but profound. Gradually shift your life so that more and more of your monthly cash comes from assets rather than from your own labor. When the majority of your living expenses are covered by asset-generated cash flow, you step into the first stage of authentic financial freedom. Income-producing assets come in many shapes and sizes, and the wealthy understand that there is no single path to building them. Instead, you choose the right asset type for your skills, capital, risk tolerance, and long-term goals. One of the most common asset classes is business ownership. A well-designed business, whether online or offline, that delivers real value and is built on systems, processes, and people can generate profits far beyond what a single worker could earn alone. Real estate is another powerful asset class.
Rental properties, commercial buildings, or even carefully structured real estate investment trusts can produce ongoing rental income and long-term appreciation when purchased and managed wisely. Financial assets like stocks, index funds, bonds, and dividend-paying companies offer you a way to own tiny pieces of the global economy. As businesses grow and profits are shared, your money multiplies quietly in the background. In the digital age, intellectual property and digital products have become some of the most scalable assets available. Books, online courses, software, apps, membership sites, subscription services, and even well-monetized content channels can continue to generate income long after the initial work is done. There are also hybrid assets, such as automated e-commerce stores or software-as-a-service platforms, where technology, marketing, and systems combine to create cash flow with minimal ongoing labor. The key is not to chase every possible asset, but to pick one or two that fit your current stage of life and go deep. Mastery beats distraction. Ask yourself, do I have more time than money or more money than time? If you have more time, you may build assets that require sweat equity, like content, skills-based businesses, or digital products. If you have more money, you may acquire already existing assets, like rental properties or shares in strong companies. Over time, as your knowledge and capital grow, you can diversify across multiple asset classes, building a resilient portfolio of wealth that supports you in any economic season.
Passive income has become a trendy phrase, often sold as some magical stream of money that flows into your life without effort, risk, or responsibility. But the truth, known by serious wealth builders, is very different. Almost no income is truly passive at the beginning, and every real asset demands intelligence, work, and discipline up front before it becomes relatively hands-off. When you see social media promises of earning huge sums overnight with no skills and no effort, understand that those are fantasies designed to separate you from your money, not real wealth strategies. Genuine passive or semi-passive income is built on assets that required planning, learning, trial and error, and often years of consistent improvement. Financial independence is not about never working again. It is about having the freedom to choose what you work on, when you work, and who you work with, because your essential living costs are covered by asset-generated cash flow rather than a paycheck you cannot afford to lose. In practical terms, financial independence means calculating how much money you need each month to live the life you want with dignity and purpose, and then building enough assets to produce that amount consistently. This might come from dividends, rental income, business profits, interest, royalties, or digital product sales, but the unifying principle is the same. Your money, your systems, and your past efforts are now working harder than you are. You must also accept that passive income still requires oversight. Markets change, tenants move, algorithms evolve, customer needs shift, and wise asset owners regularly review, adjust, and protect their cash flows. When you approach passive income with this mature mindset, seeing it as the reward for intelligent effort rather than an escape from effort, you stop chasing fantasies and start building real, measurable, and lasting wealth.
Living paycheck to paycheck is not just a financial condition, it is a mental prison that keeps you stressed, distracted, and too exhausted to build the future you deserve. Because every thought is consumed by the next bill, the next due date, and the constant fear of an unexpected expense. Escaping this trap begins with radical financial awareness. You must confront your numbers honestly. List every source of income, every recurring expense, every debt payment, and every hidden leak in your financial life. Until you see clearly where your money is going, you will never control it. The next step is to create breathing room by cutting non-essential spending, negotiating better terms on bills and debts, and committing, no matter how small at first, to paying yourself first, even if it is only a tiny percentage of each paycheck automated into a separate savings or investment account. That initial margin becomes your seed capital for asset creation, an emergency fund to protect you from financial shocks, and then a growing pool of money that can be directed toward investments instead of consumption. At the same time, you must look for ways to increase your income intelligently, learning new skills, taking on higher value work, starting a simple side business, or monetizing something you already know how to do. The goal is not to work yourself to death, but to temporarily boost your earning power so you can accelerate your move from survival to stability. As your savings grow and your high-interest debts shrink, you reach a turning point where a portion of your money can begin flowing into assets, index funds, small digital products, micro-businesses, or other cash flow opportunities appropriate to your level of knowledge. Every dollar redirected from mindless spending to asset building becomes a tiny worker in your personal financial army, and over time, that army begins to lighten the load on your shoulders. Escaping paycheck to paycheck is not an overnight miracle. It is the result of many small, disciplined decisions repeated over months and years. But once you cross that line, you reclaim something priceless: mental space, creative energy, and the freedom to design a life that serves your highest goals instead of your next bill.
To move from dreaming about wealth to actually building it, you must obey one foundational law that the rich treat as sacred: pay yourself first. This principle is brutally simple yet life-changing. Before you pay your bills, before you clear your debts, before you spend on lifestyle, entertainment, or impressing other people, you automatically set aside a fixed percentage of your income for your future assets. Most people do the opposite. They get paid, they spend, they survive, and then they try to save whatever is left, which almost always turns out to be nothing. The wealthy flip this script. They decide in advance that 5%, 10%, or even 20% of every dollar that enters their life belongs to their future selves and their future freedom, and they automate this transfer the moment income arrives. At first, this feels uncomfortable, even impossible, because your mind is conditioned to believe that every cent of your paycheck is already claimed by your current obligations. But when you commit to paying yourself first, something powerful happens. Your lifestyle gradually reshapes itself around what remains. Your creativity wakes up to find ways to earn or save more, and you begin to feel a quiet pride each time your freedom fund grows. This is not about deprivation, it is about direction. Instead of letting money slip through your fingers, you intentionally direct a portion towards savings and investments that will one day buy or build assets which pay you forever. To make this work, you must turn it into a system, not a mood. Automatic transfers into a separate account, no debit card attached, no easy access for impulse spending, preferably an account dedicated to investments and asset creation only. Over months and years, these consistent contributions become your personal launch pad, the capital you will use to acquire shares in solid companies, seed a small business, invest in your skills, or put a down payment on an income-producing property. Paying yourself first is not a suggestion, it is the non-negotiable entry ticket to the world of wealth. Compounding is the quiet, almost magical force that the rich rely on and the average earner ignores. It is the process by which your money earns returns, and then those returns themselves earn more returns, creating a snowball effect of growth over time. Imagine you invest a small amount consistently, month after month, year after year, into an asset that grows at a reasonable rate. At first, the progress seems painfully slow, like watching grass grow, and this is where most people quit. But those who understand compounding stay the course because they know that the earliest years are just the foundation for exponential acceleration later. The curve of compounding is not a straight line. It starts gently, almost flat, then bends upward and surges as the years pass and the base of your capital expands. This is why starting early, even with small amounts, is more powerful than starting late with larger sums. Time is the most valuable asset you will ever have, and once it is gone, you cannot buy it back at any price. Compounding applies not only to money, but to knowledge, skills, relationships, and habits. Every book you read, every course you take, every mentor you learn from adds invisible interest to your mental bank account, making your decisions sharper and your opportunities greater. The rich respect compounding by being patient investors. They resist the urge to constantly jump in and out of markets based on headlines and emotions, and instead, they let their money grow inside well-chosen assets over long periods. They also reinvest their earnings whenever possible, instead of rushing to upgrade their lifestyle. To harness compounding, you must commit to consistency, automatic contributions, long-term thinking, and the discipline to keep going, even when the results are not yet spectacular. Over a decade, 2 decades, or 3, compounding can transform modest, ordinary contributions into extraordinary wealth, but only for those who are wise enough to begin and patient enough to continue.
Smart investing is not about gambling on hot tips, chasing the latest hype, or trying to outguess the market every week. It is about protecting your capital, growing it steadily, and aligning your investments with your time horizon, risk tolerance, and goals. The wealthy think of investing in layers. At the base, they prioritize safety and diversification, often using broad, low-cost index funds that give them exposure to hundreds or thousands of companies at once, reducing the risk that any single business failure will destroy their wealth. Above that foundation, they may add carefully researched investments in specific sectors, dividend-paying stocks or bonds, for stability and income. Then, with a smaller percentage of their portfolio, they might pursue higher-risk, higher-reward opportunities, such as startups, niche real estate deals, or emerging technologies, but never with money they cannot afford to lose. The average earner often reverses this. They stay out of simple, proven investments because they seem boring, then get seduced into risky schemes that promise fast returns with little effort. To become a smart investor, you must first educate yourself. Understand basic concepts like risk, return, diversification, volatility, time horizons, and the difference between investing and speculating. Learn to ask critical questions. What is the real business behind this investment? How does it make money? What are the worst-case scenarios? What fees am I paying, and what value am I receiving? Avoid anything that you cannot explain in simple language. If you do not understand it, you are not investing, you are gambling. Smart investors also recognize the danger of emotional decisions. Fear and greed are the enemies of rational investing, causing people to sell at the bottom when they panic and to overbuy at the top when they get greedy. The wealthy counter this by having a clear plan: what they will buy, why, how long they intend to hold, and under what conditions they would sell, and then they stick to that plan with discipline. Your goal is not to predict the future perfectly. It is to build a resilient strategy that grows your money over time while protecting you from catastrophic mistakes. At the heart of many great fortunes lies one powerful idea: entrepreneurship, the art of creating value at scale by solving problems for many people. The entrepreneur mindset is not limited to those who start big companies. It is a way of thinking that asks, how can I turn my skills, ideas, or resources into a system that helps others and pays me continuously? Entrepreneurs understand that money flows toward solutions.
Every frustration, inefficiency, or unmet need in the world is a potential opportunity for a product, a service, or a platform that people will gladly pay for. Instead of complaining about problems, they study them, break them down, and design ways to solve them better, faster, or cheaper than anyone else. The entrepreneur mindset embraces responsibility and risk. Not blind, reckless risk, but calculated, educated risk, where you test ideas small, learn from feedback, and scale what works. Failure is not a dead end. It is data, a lesson pointing you toward a better approach. Many aspiring entrepreneurs get stuck because they imagine they need huge capital, perfect timing, or a revolutionary invention. But in reality, most successful businesses begin with something simple: a clear target customer, a real problem, and a useful solution delivered consistently. In the digital age, entrepreneurship has more leverage than ever. You can reach global audiences with content, sell products worldwide from a laptop, deliver services remotely, and automate large parts of your operations with technology. The entrepreneur mindset also understands the power of systems and teams. You are not trying to do everything yourself forever. You are building processes and bringing in people so that the business can operate and grow without your constant presence. When you think like an entrepreneur, you stop asking, "Where can I get a better job?" and start asking, "How can I create something that gives others so much value that they happily make me rich?" This shift from consumer to creator, from worker to builder, is one of the most direct paths to creating assets that can pay you for years, even decades.
Wealth is not built in a single dramatic moment. It is built quietly in the small, consistent habits that most people overlook because they seem too simple or too boring. The wealthy respect discipline as their greatest ally. They know that motivation comes and goes, but habits and systems carry them forward even when they do not feel inspired. Success habits around money begin with awareness and intentionality, tracking income and expenses, reviewing investments regularly, reading or learning about finance and business, and making conscious choices instead of emotional, impulsive ones. Rich individuals often have daily or weekly rituals, a morning routine that centers their mind, a time block each week to review their financial status, a habit of learning something new about money, markets, or entrepreneurship, and a consistent practice of living slightly below their means so they can continually invest in assets. Discipline also shows up in how they handle temptations. They resist lifestyle inflation when their income rises. They say no to unnecessary liabilities that would drain cash flow, and they delay gratification today in order to enjoy greater freedom tomorrow. This does not mean living a miserable, joyless life. It means choosing deep, lasting satisfaction over shallow, short-term thrills. Successful wealth builders also cultivate personal discipline beyond money. They take care of their health, manage their time wisely, keep their promises, and surround themselves with people and environments that support their goals. They understand that chaos in one area of life eventually spills into others, so they build order, clarity, and structure into their days. If your current habits are disorganized, reactive, and emotionally driven, you cannot expect your financial life to be stable or growing. To transform, start small. Commit to one or two key habits, like paying yourself first, tracking your spending, or reading about money for 20 minutes each day, and protect these habits fiercely. Over time, these routines become your new normal, and your results begin to align with the disciplined identity you are building. Wealth does not appear by accident. It is the result of clear goals pursued with focused action over time. Without specific, written financial targets, your efforts remain scattered, your decisions become reactive, and your money flows wherever your impulses push it. The wealthy begin with vision.
They ask, what kind of life do I want to live in 5, 10, or 20 years? How much income do I want my assets to generate? What does financial freedom look like in practical numbers? From that vision, they calculate their freedom number, the amount of monthly asset-based income required to cover their desired lifestyle. Once that number is clear, it becomes a compass guiding decisions about work, spending, investing, and learning. Goal setting is not just about the final destination. It also means breaking the journey into measurable milestones, building an emergency fund of a certain size, paying off high-interest debt by a specific date, reaching a certain level of monthly savings, or accumulating a defined amount in investments. Each milestone gives you something tangible to aim for and celebrate. Focus is the discipline of saying no to distractions that do not move you toward those goals. Unnecessary purchases, get-rich-quick schemes, endless entertainment, and even some social obligations that drain your time and energy without adding value. In the modern world, where attention is constantly under attack from notifications, news, and noise, focus becomes a rare superpower. Those who can direct their concentration toward building assets and improving themselves gain an enormous advantage. Write your financial goals down, review them regularly, and align your calendar with them. If your schedule does not reflect your goals are just wishes. Design weekly and monthly actions that move you closer, learning a new skill, researching an asset class, increasing your savings rate, or working on a side project that could become a business. When your vision is clear and your focus is disciplined, your daily choices stop being random and start forming a powerful, unified strategy for wealth creation.
The promise of making money while you sleep is not a fantasy reserved for a lucky few. It is the natural result of building systems, using automation, and applying leverage to your time, skills, and capital. At its core, this concept means that you create or acquire assets that continue to generate income without needing your constant presence or effort. Financially, you achieve this through investments that yield dividends, interest, or rental income. But beyond investing, you can also harness technology, processes, and people to keep your income flowing. An online course you create once can be sold thousands of times through automated funnels. A well-structured e-commerce store can receive orders 24/7 from around the world. A YouTube channel, podcast, or blog with strong content can earn advertising or sponsorship revenue long after the content was created. A team running your business can keep operations moving while you rest or focus on strategy. Automation tools allow you to schedule transfers into investments, manage marketing campaigns, handle customer support, and track performance with minimal manual input. Systems turn random one-time actions into repeatable processes, scripts for sales calls, templates for emails, standard procedures for onboarding clients, or checklists for property maintenance. Leverage is the principle that multiplies your impact, using software to do the work of many hands, using capital to earn from large projects, or using other people's skills and time in a win-win structure where everyone benefits. However, assets and systems do not appear overnight. They demand thoughtful design, testing, refinement, and often initial seasons of hard work. Many people quit too early because they expect immediate, effortless rewards. Those who persist through the setup phase eventually cross a threshold where the system carries more of the load than they do. At that point, your income is no longer tightly chained to your daily hours, and you begin to experience what true leverage feels like, waking up to sales, dividends, or rental payments that arrived while you were sleeping, resting, or enjoying life. This is not magic.
It is the predictable harvest of well-built assets and intelligently leveraged systems. Financial education is the foundation on which every lasting fortune is built. Without it, even high income can vanish through ignorance, bad decisions, and avoidable mistakes. The difference between someone who struggles for decades and someone who steadily builds wealth is often not effort, but understanding. Understanding how money actually works, how systems are structured, and how to position yourself on the winning side of those systems. Financial education means learning the language of money: assets, liabilities, cash flow, equity, leverage, compounding, inflation, taxes, and risk. It means knowing the difference between gross income and net income, between paper wealth and real cash flow, between speculation and investing. The wealthy treat financial education as a lifelong project. They read books on investing, business, and economics. They follow credible experts rather than hype merchants. They study case studies of success and failure, and they continually ask, "What am I missing? What do I still need to learn?" In contrast, the average earner often relies on rumors, social media trends, or advice from people who are not financially successful themselves. To transform your life, you must take responsibility for your own financial education. Build a reading list, listen to audiobooks, enroll in high-quality courses, and learn how to analyze opportunities critically instead of emotionally. Become curious about how banks make money, how billion-dollar companies are structured, how investors evaluate deals, how tax laws influence behavior. This does not mean you need to become a professional trader or accountant. It means you become literate enough to protect yourself from scams, recognize solid strategies, and ask intelligent questions when seeking professional advice. Every hour you invest in genuine financial education increases your earning power, sharpens your judgment, and strengthens your confidence. The world will not rearrange itself to protect the financially uneducated. Instead, you must rise to meet reality with knowledge. When you commit to being a student of money for life, you give yourself an edge that no downturn, no job loss, and no temporary setback can permanently take away. Before you can build external assets, you must recognize that you yourself are the ultimate asset. Your mind, your skills, your character, your health, and your emotional resilience are the engines that will create every financial result you desire. Money flows to those who solve problems, take responsibility, and bring value. And all of that begins with who you are becoming. Personal growth is not a feel-good luxury. It is a strategic necessity for wealth creation. When you expand your skills, learning sales, communication, technology, leadership, or specialized industry knowledge, you increase your ability to earn, to innovate, and to build systems others will gladly pay to access. When you strengthen your mindset, developing resilience, patience, courage, and self-belief, you become capable of enduring the inevitable setbacks, delays, and disappointments on the path to financial independence. When you take care of your physical health through sleep, nutrition, exercise, you protect the energy and clarity required to perform consistently at a high level. Emotional intelligence is another pillar of personal growth that the rich quietly cultivate, the ability to manage your emotions under pressure, to negotiate, to handle conflict, to build strong relationships, and to remain calm when others panic. All of these traits directly affect your financial decisions. A calm, disciplined person will invest wisely, while an impulsive, fearful person will buy high, sell low, and sabotage their own progress. Investing in yourself is not an expense. It is the highest return investment you will ever make, because everything else, businesses, portfolios, networks, sits on top of who you are. Read deeply, seek mentors, attend workshops, challenge your own beliefs, and deliberately place yourself in environments that stretch you. As you grow, your opportunities expand, your income increases, and your capacity to build and manage assets multiplies. The richer you become on the inside, the easier it becomes to create wealth on the outside.
Before your money can work for you, you must stop letting it work against you. And that requires smart money management. Simple, robust systems that control cash flow and remove chaos from your financial life. The wealthy do not rely on guesswork or vibes. They know where every dollar comes from and where every dollar goes. The first step is to create a clear picture of your current finances. List all income sources, all fixed expenses, all variable expenses, all debts, and all assets. Then design a straightforward budget that assigns every unit of income a specific job, a portion for necessities, a portion for paying yourself first, a portion for debt reduction, a portion for investments, and a controlled portion for lifestyle and enjoyment. The goal is not to become a slave to spreadsheets, but to give every dollar direction. Automate as much as possible. Automatic transfers to savings and investment accounts, automatic bill payments to avoid late fees, and separate accounts for different purposes so your spending money does not get mixed with your investing money. Wealthy individuals often use multiple bank accounts strategically, one for daily expenses, one for long-term investments, one for business activities, one for taxes, and one for emergency reserves. They also track their net worth over time, the difference between what they own and what they owe, because this reveals their true progress more accurately than income or lifestyle. Smart money management also includes monitoring your credit reports, maintaining a strong credit score, and staying organized with financial documents so you can move quickly when opportunities appear. When you manage money well at small levels, you become capable of handling larger sums. If you are chaotic with hundreds, you will be overwhelmed with thousands or millions. Order creates capacity. Capacity attracts opportunity. By building a simple, consistent system for your money, you take control of your financial destiny instead of living in constant reaction to bills and surprises.
Debt can be a ruthless enemy that drains your wealth, or it can be a powerful tool that accelerates it. The outcome depends entirely on how, why, and where you use it. Most people experience only the destructive side of debt: high-interest credit cards, personal loans for consumption, car payments that eat a large share of income, and buy now, pay later schemes that turn wants into long-term obligations. This kind of consumer debt is a financial cancer. The interest is often so high that even diligent payments barely touch the principal, trapping people in years of stress and delayed dreams. The wealthy treat this type of debt like fire in the hands of a child, dangerous and to be avoided. Their first priority is to eliminate high-interest liabilities as quickly as possible, often by focusing on the most expensive debts first while maintaining minimum payments on the rest, or by strategically consolidating debts into lower-interest structures. Once destructive debt is under control, a different conversation becomes possible: the intelligent use of good debt or leverage, which is debt used to acquire real assets that generate more income than the debt costs. Examples include a mortgage on a rental property where rental income exceeds the mortgage and expenses, or business financing that allows you to purchase equipment, inventory, or marketing that will predictably increase profits. Even then, the disciplined investor respects risk. They run numbers conservatively, maintain cash reserves, and avoid over-leveraging themselves so that a downturn, vacancy, or temporary sales slump does not wipe them out. The rule is simple: if debt is used to buy liabilities that do not pay you, it is your enemy. If debt is used carefully to acquire assets that produce reliable cash flow, it can be your ally. Before taking on any debt, ask, will this put money into my pocket or take money out? Is the return higher than the cost?
What happens in a worst-case scenario? When you master these distinctions, you stop being a victim of debt and start becoming a strategic user of leverage. Wealth is not only about how much you can make, it is also about how much you can keep and protect. Risk management is the art of defending your financial life from storms, shocks, and surprises so that one crisis does not erase years of progress. The first line of defense is an emergency fund, cash reserves kept in a safe, easily accessible account that can cover several months of essential living expenses. This buffer protects you from job loss, medical emergencies, sudden repairs, or business slowdowns, allowing you to avoid panic borrowing or forced asset sales at terrible prices. The second layer of protection is appropriate insurance. Health insurance to shield you from catastrophic medical bills, life insurance to protect your dependents if you die unexpectedly, disability insurance to provide income if illness or injury prevents you from working, and property insurance to safeguard your home or business assets. The wealthy do not see insurance as wasted money. They see it as a necessary shield against risks that would otherwise be devastating. Diversification is another crucial risk management tool. Instead of putting all your capital into one company, one property, one client, or one income stream, you spread exposure across different assets, industries, and even geographic regions. If one area struggles, others can sustain you. Legal and structural protection also matters. Depending on your country and situation, using proper business entities, contracts, and professional advice can limit liability and protect personal assets from business risks. Psychological risk management is just as important. Knowing your own tolerance for volatility, resisting herd behavior during market panics, and avoiding emotional decisions based on fear or greed. When you build strong defenses, you gain something priceless: peace of mind. You can pursue opportunities confidently, knowing that setbacks will be survivable, not fatal. Risk will always exist, but when you manage it intelligently, you transform it from a threat into a calculated cost of doing business in the world of wealth. Your network is one of the most powerful assets you will ever build, because money, opportunities, and information flow fastest through relationships. The wealthy are intentional about the people they surround themselves with. They understand that your income, your mindset, and even your expectations are heavily influenced by your inner circle. If everyone around you is trapped in scarcity thinking, complaining about circumstances, and afraid of risk, their beliefs will quietly become your ceiling. But if you intentionally connect with people who are building businesses, investing wisely, and pursuing growth, their standards become your new normal. Building a wealth network does not mean using people or chasing rich friends. It means contributing value, being reliable, and building mutually beneficial relationships with those who share your ambition and values. Seek mentors who have already achieved what you are aiming for: financial independence, business success, investment experience, and approach them with humility and preparation. Ask precise questions, show that you act on advice, and never waste their time. Join communities where wealth builders gather: entrepreneurial groups, investment clubs, professional associations, online forums, or masterminds focused on growth rather than gossip. Be the kind of person others want in their circle: honest, proactive, resourceful, willing to help without always expecting immediate returns. Partnerships can also be powerful wealth accelerators when structured wisely. Teaming up with people who complement your skills, perhaps you bring vision and sales while they bring operations and finance, can unlock opportunities that neither of you could achieve alone. However, partnerships without clear agreements, shared values, and open communication can become dangerous, so choose carefully and put everything in writing. Remember that your network works in both directions. You are influenced by them, and they are influenced by you. As you grow, you also become a mentor and connector for others, multiplying your impact and deepening the strength of your financial ecosystem. In the past, building assets often required large capital, physical locations, and complex infrastructure. Today, the digital world has opened an unprecedented opportunity to create powerful, low-cost assets from a laptop or even a phone. Digital assets are creations that can be distributed online at scale. Content libraries, courses, software, apps, memberships, email lists, branded channels, and intellectual property that can be monetized through ads, subscriptions, sales, or licensing. A well-crafted online course can educate thousands while generating income each time someone enrolls. A popular YouTube channel or podcast can earn via ads and sponsorships. A strong email list can become a direct distribution channel for products, services, or affiliate offers. A useful app or software tool can bring recurring subscription revenue month after month. Your online presence, your personal brand across social media, websites, and platforms, is itself an emerging asset. It builds trust, attracts opportunity, and can be leveraged into partnerships, speaking engagements, consulting, or product launches. The key is to create real value, not just noise. Content that solves problems, entertains with purpose, educates, or inspires action. Consistency is critical. Audiences and algorithms reward those who show up regularly with quality, and over time, your digital footprint compounds like financial capital. Automation tools, scheduling platforms, and analytics allow you to run significant online operations with minimal manual effort once systems are in place, making digital assets some of the closest things to scalable, semi-passive income opportunities available today. However, these assets still require strategy, testing, and adaptation. Platforms change, trends shift, and you must be willing to evolve. Rather than chasing every new platform, choose one or two that match your strengths: video, audio, writing, or community building, and go deep. In the internet age, ignoring digital assets is like ignoring real estate in a growing city. You are walking past entire neighborhoods of opportunity. By intentionally building your online presence and converting your knowledge, skills, or creativity into digital assets, you open an additional, powerful path to wealth creation that can operate 24/7 across borders while you are busy with the rest of your life, or even sleeping. True wealth is not complete until it outlives you. Generational wealth means building assets, systems, and knowledge that continue to protect, empower, and elevate your family long after you are gone. Many people think leaving money to their children is enough, but the rich understand a deeper truth. If you pass down capital without passing down character and education, the money will often disappear within a generation or two. Generational wealth begins with mindset. You teach your children and younger relatives the same rich principles you have learned: what assets are, how cash flow works, why debt can be dangerous or useful, how discipline beats impulse, and why freedom is more valuable than flashy consumption. You involve them in age-appropriate conversations about money. Let them see how you save, invest, and give, and gradually expose them to real decisions instead of keeping finances a secret. Structurally, generational wealth often includes businesses that can be passed down or sold, rental properties that continue to generate income, well-managed investment portfolios, and legal tools like wills, trusts, and family charters that clearly define how assets should be handled. The wealthy also create family systems, regular meetings to discuss goals and values, shared rules about how money can be used, and expectations that each generation will contribute, not just consume. They avoid creating entitlement by tying benefits to education, responsibility, or contribution, ensuring that wealth becomes a platform for growth, not a cushion for laziness. Generational wealth also includes non-financial assets, a strong family culture, ethical standards, emotional support, and a reputation that opens doors. When you think in terms of legacy, your decisions change. You choose investments with longer horizons. You document your knowledge. You build structures that are simple enough to manage, yet strong enough to endure. The goal is not to control your descendants' lives, but to give them a foundation you never had, a starting line far ahead of where you began, along with the wisdom to multiply, not waste, what you leave behind. Wealth without purpose quickly becomes empty. Once your own needs are met and your freedom is secured, the question that truly matters is not how much more can I get, but what impact can I create? The richest lives are not measured only in net worth, but in the number of people uplifted, problems solved, and futures brightened because you chose to act. Money is a magnifier. In selfish hands, it amplifies greed, but in wise, generous hands, it becomes a powerful tool for healing, building, and transforming communities. Wealth with purpose means aligning your financial success with causes and contributions that matter to you, supporting education, funding shelters, backing entrepreneurs, improving healthcare, protecting the environment, or simply being a quiet, reliable helper to struggling families around you. This does not require you to become a billionaire philanthropist. It begins with a decision to allocate a percentage of your income or asset-generated cash flow to giving, even when your resources are still growing. The discipline of giving shapes your character. It keeps you from becoming a slave to money and constantly reminds you that you are a steward, not an owner, of what flows through your hands. Purposeful wealth also includes impact investing, directing some of your capital into businesses, projects, or funds that generate both financial returns and positive social outcomes. As your assets grow, you gain options. You can volunteer more time, mentor young entrepreneurs, create scholarships, or build organizations that tackle the problems you care about most. Fulfillment comes from using your freedom to serve something larger than your own comfort. When you combine a rich mindset, strong assets, and a heart committed to contribution, you step into a higher level of success, one where the question is no longer just, how can I win, but how many others can win because I chose this path. This is the ultimate power of wealth, the ability to turn your personal financial victory into a source of hope, opportunity, and lasting positive change. Transforming everything you've learned into action requires a clear roadmap, a sequence of steps that can guide you from where you are to where you want to be, no matter your starting point. Step 1 is awareness. Face your current reality honestly by listing all your income, expenses, debts, and assets. This is your financial X-ray. Step 2 is mindset. Commit to adopting the rich way of thinking, ownership over wages, assets over liabilities, discipline over impulse, and decide that you will be a builder, not just a spender. Step 3 is control. Design a simple money management system with a basic budget and automatic transfers that ensure you pay yourself first, building an emergency fund and then an investment fund. Step 4 is cleanup. Attack high-interest debts with intensity, freeing your future cash flow from financial chains. Step 5 is education. Choose a learning plan, books, audiobooks, courses, mentors that deepens your understanding of money, investing, and business every single week. Step 6 is income growth. Increase your earning power through skills, promotions, side hustles, or small businesses, not for ego, but to accelerate your asset-building capacity. Step 7 is focus. Select one primary asset path that fits your strengths and stage, maybe index investing, rental property, a digital product, or a service-based business, and commit to mastering it instead of chasing every trend. Step 8 is execution. Launch, invest, or build on a small scale. Learn from the results, refine, then gradually increase your exposure as your confidence and competence grow. Step 9 is systemization and leverage. Introduce automation, tools, processes, and eventually people so that your asset becomes less dependent on your daily effort. Step 10 is review and expansion. Regularly track your net worth, cash flow, and progress toward your freedom number. Adjust your strategy when needed, diversify into additional assets over time, and keep upgrading your network and mindset. This roadmap is not a quick sprint. It is a marathon with sprints inside it. You will face setbacks, delays, and mistakes, but if you keep walking the path, step by step, month after month, you will move from survival to stability, from stability to growth, and from growth to true financial independence.
You have now walked through the core ideas that separate lifelong struggle from lasting wealth, the mindset of the rich, the power of assets, the reality of passive income, the escape from paycheck to paycheck living, the strategies to save, invest, and multiply money, the discipline of success habits, the leverage of entrepreneurship and digital assets, the protection of smart risk management, and the deeper meaning of generational wealth and contribution. The question that remains is simple and uncompromising. What will you do with this knowledge? Information alone does not change lives. Implementation does. Every rich person you admire once stood where you stand now with a choice: to continue trading time for money and living by default, or to become the architect of their own financial destiny. They were not gifted a secret shortcut. They decided to think differently, act intentionally, and stay consistent long after others quit. You can do the same. Begin where you are, with what you have, and refuse to underestimate the power of small, disciplined steps repeated over years. Start tracking your money. Pay yourself first. Cut the financial noise from your life. Invest in your education. Choose your first asset to build, and commit to making your money work harder than you do. Expect setbacks, but do not bow to them. Expect fear, but move through it. Expect slow beginnings, but trust compounding. Wealth is not about luck. It is about alignment, aligning your beliefs, choices, and daily actions with the laws of money and value creation. As you build assets that pay you forever, you are not just creating income. You are buying time, freedom, options, and the power to live life on your own terms and to elevate others along the way. When you are ready to step fully into that journey, press play on these ideas again, share them with those you care about, and keep teaching your mind that you are not a victim of money. You are its master, its steward, and its designer. This audiobook is for education and inspiration only, not personal financial advice, but the responsibility and the opportunity to act is entirely yours. Your future rich self is already waiting. Start building the bridge today.